Okay, let's get right into it. There's a huge battle unfolding right now in Brazil, one of the biggest democracies on the planet. And it's all about a massive question. Where does free speech stop and a threat to democracy begin? This isn't just some abstract political debate either. It's a full-blown legal crisis, and it's pulling in everyone from journalists to politicians, and now, well, the rest of the world. So what's the official line? Well, this is it. This comes directly from Justice Luís Roberto Barroso, a top judge on Brazil's Supreme Federal Court. It's about as clear a statement as you can get. No censorship exists in Brazil. But you have to ask, is that the whole story? Because almost as soon as he said that, a well-known political scientist, Fernando Schüler, fired back with a direct challenge. So on one side, you've got the court saying, nope, nothing to see here. And on the other, Schüler saying, really? No censorship? Because I can list 10 cases right now. And that's the conflict we're going to unpack. So let's do exactly what Schüler suggested. We're going to look at some of these key cases that critics are pointing to as proof that the judiciary has gone too far. And what you'll see is that most of them tie back to one single, incredibly powerful legal investigation. And that investigation is called the fake news inquiry. Now, what's so wild about this is that it was started by the Supreme Court itself, and it gives the court these massive powers to investigate and go after anything it considers a threat to democracy. It's become the main tool they use to take down content and shut down social media accounts. So, case number 1 involves an entire political party. A small communist party posted just one tweet criticizing the court, calling something Soviet justice. And the response? The court froze their social media accounts and basically stopped them from functioning as a party. I mean, think about that. An entire political organization just neutralized over a single post. And this inquiry's reach goes way beyond politicians. It's targeting private citizens, too. A businessman, Luciano Hang, got banned from all social media for 2 years. And the reason? A message he sent in a private WhatsApp group saying he'd prefer a dictatorship. As one critic put it, this was punishing someone for nonsense, not crime. This next case is a textbook example of something called prior restraint. There was a documentary film in the works about the assassination attempt on former President Jair Bolsonaro, but the court blocked it before it was even released. Nobody had even seen it yet, but the court just preemptively banned it. That's pretty much the dictionary definition of censorship. As you can imagine, this didn't stay a domestic issue for very long. As these cases started to pile up, big corporations, foreign governments, and international lawmakers, well, they all started paying very, very close attention, and their reactions have been pretty severe. Things escalated really fast. In 2024, X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, just closed its office in Brazil because their employees were being threatened with arrest. By 2025, the U.S. government stepped in, first with travel bans against the lead judge, and then with threats of massive economic tariffs. They were directly tying Brazil's free speech record to its trade deals. And the response from Europe was just as intense. Dominik Tarczyński, a Polish member of the European Parliament, drew this really chilling parallel. He said, "I lived under communism. I know how it starts." He was basically framing what's happening in Brazil as a slide towards authoritarianism. Okay, so what is the Supreme Court side of this? How do they justify all this? Well, they argue that all these actions are absolutely necessary to defend democracy. But, obviously, critics are seeing a really dangerous pattern of judicial overreach. Let's break down both sides of that argument. One of the biggest criticisms comes down to pure secrecy. For example, how many social media accounts have actually been censored because of this inquiry? We just don't know. The court flat out refuses to release that number, even though journalists and researchers have been asking for years. So for critics, the problem is the process itself, or really the lack of one. These orders are often issued in secret. The people being targeted have no chance to defend themselves. And this creates what lawyers call a chilling effect, where people just stop speaking out because they're afraid. On top of that, critics say the orders are super vague and seem to hit political opponents of the court way more than anyone else. So here it is, the fundamental disagreement. The court says its goal is noble. We're protecting Brazil from real threats like disinformation and hate speech. But the critics, they see a totally different motive. They say the court is just using that goal as a convenient cover to silence political dissent and anyone who dares to criticize its power. Now, it's really important to point out that the court does have its supporters. In a recent ruling that forced social media platforms to take more responsibility for illegal content, the group Reporters Without Borders actually praised the decision. They said it could help make digital spaces safer for everybody. And all of this brings us to the bigger picture. Brazil is at a really critical crossroads right now, but the dilemma it's facing, it's not unique at all. This is a struggle that democracies all over the world are trying to figure out in this new digital age. This whole situation just lays bare this tension that's at the heart of how we govern ourselves now. Of course, every democracy wants to fight disinformation, but the risk is you end up crushing free expression. You want to protect your institutions, but the risk is you give judges way too much power. You want to make the internet safer, but you might accidentally censor legitimate debate. It's this incredible tightrope that Brazil and a lot of other countries are trying to walk. And that's why this is so much more than just a local story. Whatever happens in Brazil is going to send a huge message to the rest of the world about how a democracy can, or maybe can't, balance its own security with liberty. The world is absolutely watching. Which leaves us all with this final and, I think, essential question. It's a challenge that really defines our time. How does a society fight back against real dangers without destroying the very freedoms that make it worth defending in the first place?